Institutional change matters because it shatters norms, it changes behaviors, it models behaviors, and it suggests that things can be scaled and can be done on an even larger level. That's why the announcement at the George Washington University, where I work, where Planet Forward is headquartered, recently about single-use plastics was so important. University will move away from single-use plastics. This follows a number of other initiatives that the university has taken on the sustainability front. But this one is going to come down to the grassroots. It will affect every student, every faculty member, and potentially every vendor who does business with the university. A big university right in the middle of Washington, D.C., right in the middle of a city, in the middle of our nation's capital. So the potential there is enormous. GW's president, Thomas LeBlanc, I spoke with him, and I started by asking him, how is this move away from single-use plastics actually going to work?
We're going to make sure we get single-use plastics out of our vending machines. We're going to work with our vendors to eliminate single-use plastics in their businesses. We're going to put out bottle refill stations. We're going to provide reusable cutlery. We will not have events in which we're handing out single-use plastic water bottles, for example.
What do you see as the most challenging part of this?
So we've got to make it possible for people to change their behavior. I hope we can make it convenient. If you have a lot of refill stations around, you're supplying people with bottles, there's no reason not to move away from that. Where it gets a little more challenging is when you start working with partner businesses, where part of their business model is around the use of single-use plastic.
What role did students play in bringing this about?
There's a group of students called Take Back the Tap, which was promoting the use of refill stations and water bottles. And it caught our attention. Our CFO and EVP, Mark Diaz, met with those students and kind of heard their views on all of this. And he really ran with the issue.
Why does this matter to GW and to you personally, for that matter, and modeling this? What impact does this have?
I grew up on the Saranac River in upstate New York, which at the time was probably one of the most polluted rivers in the United States. And we used to walk to school and cross the river, and we'd look down, and the color of the water would tell us what color paints they were using in the paper mills along the Saranac River. So polluting of waters has been something I've had to live with for far too long from a personal level. For here at GW, GW is trying to lead in sustainability. And I don't think we can lead in sustainability while we're daily churning out single-use plastic on our own campus.
So how do you, as a university president with a vast, sort of group of stakeholders across a big area, how are you communicating this? How do you tell the story of this initiative?
Well, I'm here on talking with you for your Planet Forward Symposium as one part of the answer to that question. Because we do have to tell this story. We have to tell the story of the damage that single-use plastics are doing, and we have to tell the story that we have a better way and it's achievable. So I would start by saying we need to, we need to role model life without single-use plastics.
Could we do this? Can we move away from single-use plastics in a meaningful way and not just symbolically?
I believe so. There's no more time to say someday the answer will come. We have to figure it out. Look at what we've done to the oceans. Look at what we've done to some of the Great Lakes in the world. Look at what we're doing to our landfills. We have to figure this out. So I do believe it's possible. I think this is an important step. We will role model that it is possible for an organization as large and complex with all the constituents of a major university. And if we can do it, I think a lot of other organizations and up to cities, governments, states, I think they can do it as well.
One of the things that particularly struck me about that conversation with President LeBlanc was something he said about how difficult it is to change behavior. And you need to make it convenient. You also need to make it understandable and approachable and inclusive. We also spoke about making sure that students in particular who are on financial aid, who have financial need, are not on the losing end of something like this, because sometimes alternatives are more expensive than the very cheap plastics that are so prolific. So he pointed out that the university will be providing to all students, for example, reusable water bottles. That was the sip he took. And I'm very excited to see what this university and other colleges and universities, by the way, in the Planet Forward Consortium, who are doing similar things, leading the way in a similar fashion in their communities, being driven in a similar way by their students. We've had some students who've actually done stories about some of these things for Planet Forward. How they can both model behavior, change behavior, and demonstrate best practices that can spread and catch on. For sure, that is how we move the planet forward. But for sure, those stories do need to be told so that others know about them. So if you're on a campus that's doing something really interesting like this, if you're on a campus now where change is happening and big moves are being made, be in touch with us. We'd love for you to do a story about that. We'd love to post that on planetforward.org and share that with the network.